We're back for episode 4 of The Expanse. A day late, as I said in the Star Trek video, but you know what? We're here, guys. I'm sure I don't have to give you an excuse. So let's get right into it. I'm here with Emmett. Emmett, how are you?
I'm doing well, and it's the season of forgiving, so forgive us for the one day lateness. I know.
Yeah, forgive us. I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do.
Yeah,
But
they're very generous people.
yeah, well, we can guarantee to you guys that we'll be back on Saturday next week. Saturday's our usual upload day, so we'll keep it like that. Sunday, because of this Christmas period, we'll have it on whatever day this is. Sunday. Yeah. Okay, so The Expanse, episode 4. I want to start off just by saying, oh my god, what an episode. I loved every minute of this episode, and this is the episode that made me realize, because a lot of comments Emmett were telling me before we start, like when I was watching season 4, and I was saying how much I love season 3. A lot of comments were saying, like, just wait to season 5. Wait to season 5.
Oh.
And this is the episode where finally I was like, all right, I can see why we're waiting to season 5, because this is bloody brilliant. What did you think?
Yeah. Oh my God. We were obviously talking about it for such a while there, like last episode or last 3 episodes we were talking about. But there was so much shake up.
Yeah.
The hits kept on coming. Everything. The rug was pulled out from underneath us several times, and like some of those I should have seen coming, and some of them just surprised me so much. And I was like, oh God, so good.
Yeah, like, well, one of the things that I don't know if it surprised me, but it's definitely a huge thing, is the fact that they got hit by asteroids more than once.
Yes, because I think in most shows you would get the one hit, and
Yeah.
then there would be like the build up for the second hit that they would inevitably stop. Because it's like, oh, we don't want to do too much damage, but getting hit by one, then followed up by a second, and then a lot of named characters sort of disappearing there in the third there.
Yeah. Oh, see the effects on that third hit where the planes were like, that was such a beautiful looking shot. I just absolutely love that.
I was wondering at the time if when the first asteroid hit, is Nancy Guy gonna have been there at the time? Will she have died? Because I was thinking like they're probably gonna, and then like obviously she is caught up in the third explosion and presumed dead to the best of our knowledge. So,
Yeah, I'm presuming she's dead, to be honest with you.
yeah, I'm not expecting her to pull herself out of the wreckage, but if she does, I won't necessarily complain.
No, exactly. Yeah, just one hand out of the rubble. No, but it was really, really cool. One question mark over this whole thing is what's going to happen with Amos, because Amos was actually going to visit Clarissa Mao, or Melba, which I like to call the worst fake name ever.
Yeah.
So going to
Hey,
visit.
I know a Melba, and she's lovely.
Oh, do you know Melba? All right. Okay.
Yeah, I do. We'll
then I
talk
take it
after
back.
this about it.
I take it back then. I take it back. I never met someone in real life, but the fact that you know someone in real life called Melba is enough for me to say, actually, it's not that bad of a fake name then. But basically, he goes to visit Clarissa, and there was a little sort of kinship between those two. It was sort of like, Amos was kind of seemed like he was going to enter into a mentor role for her in those last sort of days on the Rocinante back in season 3. But I'm interested to see where this goes. Now, obviously, big question marks again, because, oh my god, seems to be very close to one of the asteroids, because there was cracks in the roof and all this sort of thing. Lockdown.
Yeah, well, I think what's going to happen most likely is we're going to see that the prison security goes down, and it's going to turn into a bit of a prison riot, and I think
free for all.
Yeah, and I think Clarissa and Amos are going to have to like possibly team up to make it out of there. In one
Well,
piece.
you got the right man next year. It's Amos you're relying on to get out of there.
Exactly, but they're in the section of the prison that has all the enhanced people with all the body modification stuff. So these are like
what's Clarissa's enhancement? Do you remember?
it's like something in the roof of her mouth that seems to like make her. I think it's something to do with adrenaline or something like that, but it like seems to increase her strength and stuff, because you've seen how she was able to like cave in that man's head last season, or season 3, sorry.
So so it's actually so hers is just like it sort of keeps her at a point of adrenaline, which means she's stronger, she can like last longer and all this sort of thing, which is pretty good modification to have, to be honest with you. But I'm interested to see this now. Actually, you saying that, it's almost like they have to fight through all these superhumans to get out. That's going to be really interesting.
It's gonna be tense. And,
I mean, they did spend a fair bit of time focusing on that guy lifting weights, so he's gonna be a big boss man. Bossman.
It would feel a bit weird to spend all that time talking about him and then not. It's like
Yeah,
it's Chekhov's gun. You know, if you
yeah,
have a gun on like it has to go off by the third act. You know,
yeah. He's Chekhov's big prison muscle man.
Chekhov's big beefy boy.
Yeah, the big beefy boy. They're gonna have to get him. But the thing is, Amos is a big beefy boy himself, so I'm looking forward to that. I thought it was really cool when they were entering the prison. They were going downstairs, and
Yeah.
the prison guard was like, "Don't be nervous," and he's like, "I'm not."
Yeah, but like it's a continuation of Amos's thing of like there's something up in his head. He doesn't process fear in the same way that other people do.
Yeah,
Like
he just doesn't care.
yeah, like you seen it in like the most time that I think we've seen him afraid was probably in season 4 when he started losing his vision. You know, and like that was a difficult time for him, and like I think it was because he's used to being on some level of control of a situation, and like having that ripped away from him was quite damaging for him. But
Yeah.
if it's just a scrape, Amos is always down for it.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. I'm looking forward to seeing that. That would actually imply to me that this is happening now. If your prediction comes true of them having to fight their way out, that would imply to me that maybe Melba or Clarissa is going to become more of a permanent role in the show. Because where else would she go when they escape? Where else would she go? She'd have to just go with Amos. So
Well, it depends on what like if she's going to escape or if she's just going to try and help, take control back of the prison. Because she's in a weird position where like she seems to be genuinely remorseful about the everything that she's done.
yeah, yeah, because she didn't. She acted before she fully understand the situations of all sides.
Yeah.
I think that was sort of a full flaw of her character. She was acting out of emotion, and out of sort of her own experience rather than thinking about how everyone else feels.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think she does see that.
Yeah, I think she does. Like, I think she knew a decent bit going in, but like she was completely blinded by all of the really intense emotional issues that she had in the past with her family, and I don't think she was going into it wanting to be the good guy. She just wanted to get revenge, and then she sort of realized that revenge really wasn't going to do anything for her, and realized that she had ended up killing a load of people essentially for nothing.
Yeah, so I think
a hollow victory.
Yeah, so she's a character that actually used to have quite a bit of hubris, but is actually potentially a bit more down to earth now. So I'd be interested to see if she did join the crew of the Rocinante, or sort of even maybe not officially, but be with Amos for a while. I'd be interested to see that character's growth from that mindset, like as being in prison the whole time. Obviously, we know that she did take on Amos's advice of like, and that seemed to affect Amos a lot. Actually, take everything, give nothing back. Remember that advice that he gave her? So that seemed to. Even before this thing happened, it sort of seemed to Amos, I was thinking to myself, Jesus, he's just going to try and break her out here. I kind of felt that was going to happen, but yeah.
Amos is a very direct man, but I don't necessarily know if he would have wanted to break her out. But I think he has sympathy for her. He sees himself in her, and
she just wasn't as lucky as him.
Yeah, well, lucky. Away. Yeah, in getting away with it. She was luckier than him in a lot of responses. Like, we've seen the way that she grew up versus the way that Amos grew up. But they were both damaged by their environments.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, trauma can happen to people at every rung of society. So, that sort of happens, right? So, okay, so moving on. We've talked about the explosions on Earth. We've talked about them possibly affecting Amos. Let's talk about someone that they're going to affect in a weirdly positive way, possibly, and that's Avasarala. Because Avasarala seems to have accidentally, or through no fault of her own, I would say, been put back in prime position to become the Secretary General of Earth again.
Well, again, we talked about this in our predictions for Season 5 a little bit, where I was expecting that the asteroid was going to hit, and then she was going to have to ride in on her white horse to sort of save the day. She might be getting her position back. We've seen, obviously, that because of the politicking between her and Nancy Guy, all the bad blood, that a lot of people died because of it, because no one would take her seriously, and she hadn't kept good enough channels between her and Guy. That it took two asteroids hitting before she could get through to them. And then she could only get the order when it was already too late to stop the third asteroid, which also killed Nancy, seemingly. And it's a shame because the last scene that they shared together, was like a scene that seemed to be a little bit more of reconciliation. I don't know if you read into the same thing as I was. I kind of got the feeling that if Nancy had survived that moment, that her opinion on Christian was going to maybe change a bit, and
100%.
perhaps, yeah,
100%. That's how I got it. I thought it was really interesting, the idea that her staff were like blacklisting them and wouldn't have any contact with them, and the way that that she was able to get into contact with Nancy Gao, I thought was really cool. Like the way the chef was like, "You do realize that you've called the chef?" He's like, "I know exactly who I fucking called." That was so good.
Well, it's funny because like when she's talking to her advisor man, I forget his name at the moment. Like
Admiral Delgado.
Admiral Delgado, like he was like, we can't get through to anybody on that plane, and then she realized, wait a second, there's, because she had forgotten about them for a second as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So she realized that Nancy, it's that issue that a lot of people in positions of power have, where they don't necessarily notice the people tending to them constantly, and she was able to use that to get to Nancy, which was good. Obviously, she was able to get the watchtowers retasked, but I think the fact that she's the one that got the watchtowers retasked, and that there is confusion over the line of succession at this point because a lot of her cabinet were with her when the explosion happened. I think Avasarala is just going to very naturally sort of slide back in there.
I think she is definitely. I think she'll definitely make a case for it anyway. And I do like that she got that moment with Nancy Gao where Nancy Gao's probably dead now, but I like how Avasarala had that moment where she did get through. And she realized, and even just for herself, like that Nancy Gao did eventually hear her, and it means that I think that Christian Avasarala will remember Nancy Gao in a more positive light than she would have otherwise. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think they obviously had a very tense relationship through season 4 during the secretary race, so to speak. But again, I think the monumental event that was the asteroids hitting could have easily been a big uniting moment for the two of them, where like they had a very clear mutual enemy that they could have focused on. And it is a shame because I think Avasarala, I don't think she would admit it, but I think there was a lot of a young Avasarala in Nancy Guy, in the sense that they're both powerful, career-driven women who with big egos and very cunning. So like they're very similar women, and I think Avasarala probably saw a lot of herself in Nancy. And,
I would agree, and I'm interested to see this now. All the storylines in this show, I'm interested to see where they go because there's not one that I'm disengaged from. And one of the smaller storylines, I suppose. Well, Kamina Drummer wasn't in this at all, so she's probably the smallest storyline in this episode because she wasn't in it at all. Drummer. But the smallest storyline in this episode was definitely the Bobby and Alex because that was just the opening scene, and then a little bit later on as well. But there wasn't really much there, and they basically. I'm finding it very interesting, their storyline, that Alex is having to come to terms with the idea that the Martian Navy isn't as fantastic and moralistic as he thought it was. So I'm finding, and Bobby's story about her pet Ratnell, like she seems to have she's already grieved that. She's already grieved the like for Mars. Like she's already grieved being a Martian, the Martian Navy. She's grieved all that now, and Alex is sort of starting to go through that process. I find this quite interesting, actually.
Yeah, it's like she's going to help Alex in a way that no one was able to sort of help her during season 4 and the Expanse 4-part miniseries that I have the first issue of behind me, which focuses on Bobby. Where she was sort of alone, whereas Alex now at least has Bobby to sort of help coach him through what she went through. Because they've established throughout the seasons that the cultural differences between Earth, Mars, and the Belt, and Mars is a very like civic duty minded place. They were all believing in this ideal. The making Mars habitable, this doing your part thing, and now watching that all fall apart, it's like watching your cultural identity sort of crumble underneath itself, and like all the stuff that you thought was important to, your identity is now being ripped away from you.
Yeah, which is very realistic because every time in human history, whenever you've had a sort of very collective society, unfortunately, inevitably, a select few of people who are out for themselves or think that they could do it better, or they inevitably are the sort of the birth of a movement which brings down that whole collective organization. So this is just echoing real life as far as I can see.
Yeah, unfortunately, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So, a lot of people in positions of power just sort of ruin the systems that they're in charge of, regardless of what that system is necessarily.
It's going to happen
But
no matter what, yeah.
yeah, and like we're just seeing now that there's been this such galactic level shift with the opening of the ring gates and the destruction of Earth and all that. Well, not the destruction, but the devastation on Earth. That like a lot of things are gonna fall through the wayside now. A lot of people are just making power grabs to see what they can get in the shifting dynamics.
Yeah, like it's really. I think it's so cool. Like
we're definitely going to get more of Mars in the coming episodes. For definite.
Oh yes, I believe so as well. I honestly think that like there was the name drop of Servitor again, the Admiral. So honestly, I think there's some big thing going on here. I think now we did get confirmation actually that Marco. I don't know if this is confirmation or not, but Marco did attack Mars as well.
Yeah,
so
the Parliament or building.
The Parliament building. So perhaps there's an inside job going on. Because, like, there was the Mars stealth tech given, and they said Philip provided that. I don't know quite how he did that, but there was.
I think it was he handled the deals and stuff.
The deals, yeah. So, but we know those deals are going through Servitor as well. We know that the deals are going through him. So I would imagine that my prediction now, my theory, is that somehow those sort of defecting sort of Martian Navy higher ups who are sort of seem to be breaking away from the Martian way, and almost as if there's an inevitable coup happening. I think that potentially they actually wanted Mars to get hit with an asteroid too, in order to dissociate them from Marco.
Possibly, I think the Parliament attack definitely was meant to do that while also having a smaller body count. It was an action that makes it easy for them to deny connection. But I do think less of a coup and more of a, they just don't care about how many millions of people get hurt. They want as much resources as they can get to get through those ring gates as soon as possible. And this stops Earth from going out to the ring gates, and like Mars is thinking, I think Mars and the Belt are both thinking we need to get through those ring gates. We need to take them over, because you've seen his during his lecture, he talks about how you could defend or you could take over the rings by placing a few ships like inside the rings, and then you can sort of monitor all the gates. I think that's maybe sort of foreshadowing for what his plan is. I think he wants to get like a strong military force on the other side of the gates so that they can control the gate situation.
I could definitely see that. I'm questioning in my mind whether it's all of Mars who are pushing for this, or it's just a breakaway faction of the military. Like, I'm not sure.
I think it's the people all underneath this guy, and I think it'll be a lot of disaffected Martian Martian Marine Corps army people as well. People who, like Bobby, feel adrift in this world that's abandoning Mars and are now just trying to get something out of their years of service.
I could see that, definitely. That's interesting. Okay, what do you think about the whole proto-molecule Fred Johnson had coming back into play? Now, let's all remember, this is all Naomi's fault.
Yeah. Well, depending on how far we want to go back, Naomi did make a lot of mistakes here. Fred also, let's not beat around the bush. Fred made a lot of mistakes. He trusted the wrong people. He pushed away the right people. He, funny that he hid the proto-molecule under his bed. Don't know if that was the safest place to put that, Fred, but I understand the motivation. It was just a rough old situation. Unfortunately now, Fred has paid the price for both his and Naomi and Marco's mistakes.
Yeah, I think he will survive.
I thought, didn't he get his eyes closed?
Oh, did he? Oh, I missed that. Jeez. Okay.
I think Holden closed his eyes, and like he made that wee speech, like he deserved to.
Yeah. No, I remember the speech. I just missed the eyes closing, so I missed some of the context there. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think Holden did like the
Yeah.
gentle sort of eye
Maybe I
close
was
to be
trying to
like,
stop a little boy from dying from falling off something or something. I don't know,
yeah,
but I missed
yeah,
that slight moment there. But okay, that's interesting then. So basically, Tycho Station is sort of cut adrift fully now. There's not really
yeah.
anything
And
going on.
the OPA have lost one of their leaders, but also lost one of the leaders that is less radical. I don't
Yeah.
want to say isn't radical. Fred's always been a little bit radical,
Hmm.
but like
Hmm.
the other leader of the OPA that they have, who I'm forgetting the name of, who was quite big in the first couple of seasons. What was his name?
Ashford.
No, not Ashford. The other fella, the one that was,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I know the guy.
yeah,
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 yeah, yeah.
yeah,
He's on the original space station.
yeah.
Um,
And Ashford was working underneath him for a long time. Like
yes, that's
that,
correct. Yeah.
yeah, that chap, like he is
Sirius Station.
definitely,
He's actually in charge of that whole station now, I think.
yeah, but like it leaves him, and it also leaves a big vacuum for Marco because you've just killed one of the biggest figureheads in the belt.
Yeah,
That's going to leave a lot of alliances up in the air,
it
and I
is.
think Marco is going to be able to, like, Marco has cleaned the floor really here, like with everybody. Like he's even when they stopped the other three asteroids from being able to hit, Marco was able to turn that. Like he was able to really quickly spin like everything into a victory for his crew.
Hmm.
Like it's been like one time would have been a success.
Yeah, yeah,
Two times, like very charismatically handled there, like where he was able to like spin it and get everyone hyped up. He manages to steal the proto molecule, kill Fred. He already killed Ashford at the end of last season. Like the man,
it's yeah. He's
yeah,
he's, he's,
and
he's like a snowball going down a hill, just
yeah,
continually getting bigger and picking up speed. By the way,
he
Anderson Dawes is the name of that character.
and some, I was forgetting his name, but like it was because again, if anyone watching this is watching our Discovery retrospectives as well. He is funnily enough sort of like the reverse of Osira, where it's like
Yeah,
Osira is this big supposed leader of an empress that doesn't actually seem to have this much power, whereas Marco is the leader of a small guerrilla faction
yeah,
that has managed to shake the entire system by hitting the most powerful thing, being able to get away and kill figureheads, and it's just like he has made such a big impression
yeah.
despite technically not having as many resources. He's been able to get around it with craftiness and good planning, which I quite like. Marco is he's a very compelling villain. I'll say that
He
much.
is, and he's it's sort of another one of these villains that have been very popular the last few years. Like my mind sort of goes Thanos, like these villains who, at the deep down, their motivation seems it's actually a place where you can understand where they started down this dark hole, the dark rabbit hole. And to be honest with you, as harsh as this would sound, there might be some fans of this show who agree with him. You know what I mean? Whether or not they agree with
Yeah.
the actions,
No.
they might
Yeah.
agree with his like everyone's been most people have been a member of a society or a member of a group that feels downtrodden or feels like they haven't got their fair shake in the world. Obviously, taking it to this extreme is definitely a bit over the top for most people and probably shouldn't be done. Let's be honest, but it's an example of a bad guy who you do sort of understand. I compare it to, like, I recently watched Tenet, and the bad guy in Tenet 100% is not this at all. 100% the bad guy in Tenet is just like, I'm a selfish asshole, and if I can't live, no one can. Like whereas Marco
Yeah.
and Thanos and like these bad guys, utilitarian basically. They sort of have Thanos is anyway. They sort of have a seed of something rational at the beginning of their thought process.
Yeah. It's
Not
I
actions
always put it
wise,
down as like a
feelings
good,
wise. Yeah.
yeah, a good compelling villain has a good point, but they've reached the wrong conclusion.
Mm.
Where it's like like Marco has a good point. The Belters have been mistreated. We do need to change the system. His conclusion is we're now going to oppress Earth and Mars. Like
Yeah.
we're going to destroy and kill all of them. It's the right. He's made the right observation, but came to the wrong conclusion in the same way that Thanos came to the wrong conclusion of there is an issue in the universe where, resources eventually lead to war, lead to death, and he comes to the wrong conclusion of I need to wipe out half the life on Earth to make the resources spreadable and to change things. So it's like their ends are potentially justifiable, their means are not. They want to save something, but they're doing it the wrong way.
It kind of reminds me, actually, not to make this too political here, but it kind of reminds me of in real life. Whenever the Black Lives Matter protests were happening across the world back in June, and some cities in the world still actually have a certain amount of that going on. It's definitely like football in the UK is still emblazoned in that. Obviously, that's a corporation, but still, my thought towards that would be, I saw a lot of black people interviewed around that time, and a lot of them were saying things like this: "You're lucky we're just looking for equality and not for revenge." Okay, so that reminds me of this, because Marco is someone who he's fallen down on the side of, I'm getting revenge. Now, so what we're seeing in the real world right now, in terms of the protests going on, and in terms of like the peaceful protests going on, is people choosing, we want our voices heard and we need equality. Whereas in the Expanse, we're seeing someone who's chosen 100%, I'm getting revenge.
Yeah. It's the Xavier Magneto divide, to again make another Marvel reference, where like the Black Lives Matter protests, the peaceful ones obviously are the Xavier, whereas the people who are rioting, very small minority. We support Black Lives Matter, obviously.
To be honest with you, it's such a small minority of them that I didn't want to give any airtime to it, because it's like less than 5% have any physical violence, and then even and then out of that 5%, there's no knowing who started the violence. So it's such a small thing that's blown up for blown up for a particular agenda that I didn't really want to mention. But anyway,
yeah. It's also blown up because it's one of those things of the way the news cycle works. They want to go with the most evocative story. And
you need a clickable title, like.
Yeah, and it's 100% clickable titles. That we're YouTube boys. We know all about that. But Marco's the kind of guy who would go to like a rally, and instead of actually wanting to make any sort of improvement, he just wants to hit people. Like but like he's also like that guy at the rally who can like get everyone else amped up to do that shit too. He's good at finding people like that, and making them think that he is on their side, but really he's just so angry inside, and he just wants to take it out on everyone else.
They're the Proud Boys. They're the Proud Boys of the Expanse.
Yes, he's the Proud Boys of the Expanse. But like,
obviously on the other side, actually, the Proud Boys are on the opposite side of Black Lives Matter. So I suppose,
he's like the Proud Boys if the Proud Boys actually had anything to properly be upset about,
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll see. Maybe we'll have a Proud Boys equivalent of someone rising up against the OPA or whatever. But
again, considering what's happened on Earth, I could very easily see that happening in the next seasons.
But the thing is, actually, in the Expanse, it would be different, because there is full on a physical assault happening on the planet of Earth. Sure. So therefore, an uprising to sort of defend themselves would be 100% justifiable. Because Marco is just trying to destroy them. Huh? Oh, yeah.
In the same way that Marco starts at a good place but takes it too far, I could see
exactly
the Earther equivalent coming out and being like, "Oh, we need to kill all of the belt to make sure that what happened on the asteroids hitting never happens again."
You're exactly right. These big oppressive regimes. Which obviously, like the Earthers have been towards the Belters in this show, big oppressive regimes are looking for any little bit of food, so to speak, to then, or like any excuse to then go and oppress those people even further. So the fact that Marco has done this would mean that if Earth did manage to defeat him, then that actually possibly negatively affects Belters going forward, because of the way Earth will view them.
Oh yeah, 100%. If Marco has sown the seeds for the destruction of a lot of people that he claims to care about, if you get me. So, his actions have not solved any problems. They have just set up the field for further bloodshed,
Yeah, and we're all really looking forward to seeing what happens.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. I'm again. It's I joked about this with friends during the last 4 years in America with like the Trump presidency. It's like it's very funny up until you remember that this will affect you, and then it's like where we with a TV show we can be a little bit more disconnected. So there could be all this horrible emotional stuff going on, and then you're like, oh, good, this was just a TV show. It doesn't impact my life at all.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm happy enough to watch it. I'm happy enough that Marco chose revenge for the fact of the TV show. But in real life, when people choose revenge, it's not the best course of action.
Oh, don't choose revenge. Yeah, I know you're not coming to us for your moral lessons in life. But if we can impart anything, don't do stuff for revenge. It's really stupid.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Well, there you go. I'm looking forward to next week now. Now because we weren't going to record this until the Sunday, I didn't watch it until this morning, and because of that, it was really hard to get to Sunday without watching it, to be honest with you. But now that I've done that, I only have to wait like 3 days for the next one, so that's really good.
Exciting.
Yeah. All right. Thanks very much for listening, guys. We have been Anthony and Emmett, and we are going to be back next week for more Expanse, episode 5. Because they started with 3, it's like going to be over in no time. But
I know.
Yeah.
But remember to hit that like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all that YouTube stuff. Leave us a comment. Hit us with an asteroid.
Yep.
Wait, don't do that last one.
Don't hit us with asteroid. Yeah. Put an asteroid on that like button. And thanks very much, guys. All right. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.